Let me take you back to a battlefield where the ground shakes with fire and the air is thick with smoke, a place where courage meets metal and every decision can mean life or death. The year is 1944. The Allies are advancing through Europe, but American tankers are staring down a terrifying truth. Their Sherman tanks are lighter, faster, but weaker against the German Panthers that loom on the horizon, a tank many called a death trap, yet in the hands of American soldiers, it would become a symbol of courage, ingenuity, and relentless determination. Sound of distant artillery rolling across the plains, camera pans over shattered villages, smoke rising in columns, tanks moving through mud and rubble, crews tense gripping their controls, each man aware that a single hit could end everything. Yet the Sherman moves forward, steadfast, reliable, carrying men with hearts full of faith in their country and their cause. The Sherman may not match the Panther in raw firepower or armor, but it carries something far greater: American innovation, adaptability, and teamwork. It is a machine designed to keep soldiers alive long enough to strike back and change the tide of battle. Every shell fired, every maneuver executed is a testament to the ingenuity of a nation, determined to win despite the odds. Across the battlefield, gunners shout commands, drivers adjust tracks, commanders call out orders, and through it all the Sherman rumbles on, unbroken its engine, a heartbeat of hope, its armor, a shield for the men who trust it, its design, a reflection of American strategy, speed, numbers, and coordination over brute force. This is the story of how a tank considered a death trap became a hero in the hands of men who refused to surrender. Let me take you back to the early days of American tank development, the halls of factories and design offices filled with engineers and visionaries determined to give their soldiers the edge in a world at war. John Garand and other pioneers had built rifles and weapons that defined American power. Now the challenge was bigger: a tank that could be built in mass, that could be deployed anywhere and sustained under the harshest conditions. The result was the M4 Sherman, a vehicle that would carry American soldiers into history. Sound of hammering metal and factory whistles, camera pans across assembly lines, women and men working tirelessly assembling tracks. Engines and turrets, sparks flying from welding stations, the smell of oil and steel fills the air. Every Sherman crafted with precision, every bolt tightened with care. It is more than a machine, it is a promise that American ingenuity can overcome any challenge. The Sherman was never designed to duel Panthers and Tigers head-on. It was built to be reliable, fast, and easy to repair in the field. American strategy valued mobility, numbers, and coordination over brute force, knowing that the Germans may have superior armor, but the Sherman could maneuver them, strike with multiple tanks at once, and keep the fight going even when casualties mounted across North Africa. And later, Europe, Shermans rolled across deserts, plains, and cities, their engines a chorus of determination, soldiers inside knowing that their lives depended on the trustworthiness of the machine. Every turn of the turret, every shot fired reflects a philosophy: uniquely American teamwork and adaptability, combined with relentless courage in the hands of skilled tankers. The Sherman would prove that a well-designed machine backed by strategy and spirit could stand against the fearsome reputation of German armor. Through mud, rain, and fire it moved, carrying men who believed in their country and their training, and in each other. Its design may have seemed modest, but its impact was immense, a steel testament to American leadership in war, and a symbol that bravery paired with intelligence can overcome even the deadliest of odds. Let me take you to the battlefields of Europe, 1944, where American tankers first encountered the German Panther, a machine of immense firepower and thick armor, a tank designed to dominate the battlefield. Men inside their Shermans felt the weight of fear as they saw the massive silhouettes emerge over the horizon, yet they held fast, knowing that their training, their teamwork, and their Sherman could still prevail. Sound of artillery in the distance, camera pans across rolling hills, forests, and ruined villages, the rumble of Sherman engines moving in formation, tanks advancing cautiously through mud and rubble, gunners scanning for targets, every man aware that the Panther's 75mm gun could destroy them with a single hit. Yet each Sherman pressed forward, using speed, numbers, and tactical ingenuity to strike when the enemy least expected it. The Sherman may have been lighter, weaker, and more vulnerable, but American tankers learned to use that to their advantage. They would flank Panthers' fire in coordinated volleys and retreat to cover when necessary. The Sherman's reliability allowed damaged tanks to return to the fight, quickly keeping the flow of battle in favor of the Americans. Their mobility and numbers compensated for raw firepower in the smoke and chaos. Crews shouted orders, worked together to repair engines and reload shells. They adapted on the fly, making split-second decisions that would save lives and turn the tide of skirmishes. Sherman became more than a vehicle. It became a partner, a guardian for the men who trusted it to keep them alive through impossible odds sound of shells exploding camera pans across a battlefield of broken German tanks. And advancing Shermans, the men inside breathe heavily, yet their eyes are determined. They know the Sherman is not just steel, it is strategy, courage, and the embodiment of American resolve. A tank that may have seemed inferior in theory proves unstoppable in the hands of those who fight with intelligence and heart. Let me take you to the moments when the Sherman earned it. Grim, nicknamed the Death Trap, whispered in letters home and shouted in barracks. The soldiers knew the numbers were against them. The Panther and Tiger tanks could punch through their armor in a single shot. Yet the myth often overlooked the reality. The Sherman was fast, reliable, easy to repair, and designed to keep men alive longer than any German tank could under real battlefield conditions. Sound of rain falling on muddy fields, camera pans across Shermans, moving through puddles, crews wiping mud from periscopes and turrets, soldiers shouting commands as engines roar, the fear in their eyes. Balanced by determination and training, they knew the Sherman required teamwork, coordination, and tactical skill. Not just brute force, each tank a node in a network of strategy, where mobility and numbers could overcome. Even the heaviest enemy, American commanders, understood the Sherman was not invincible, but it was adaptable. Every battlefield modification, every upgraded gun and reinforced armor was a reflection of American ingenuity and pragmatism. The men inside learned to strike quickly, retreat, and regroup to minimize risk and maximize impact. They became masters of maneuver warfare, turning the supposed death trap into a machine of survival and victory across Europe and North Africa. The Sherman carried its crews through ambushes, destroyed Panther tanks, and overwhelming odds. It became clear that perception often overshadowed truth. The death trap was in fact a tool that reflected American philosophy: speed, reliability, and coordination over sheer armor. The Sherman allowed soldiers to fight smarter and live to fight another day. Sound of distant explosions, fading camera focuses on a Sherman turret, silhouetted against the rising sun, soldiers standing atop the tank, looking at the horizon, proud, exhausted, yet unbroken. The death trap was never a liability. It was a symbol of American resourcefulness, bravery, and the unwavering belief that courage combined with intelligence could defeat any foe. Let me take you inside the cramped steel hull of a Sherman tank, where fear and courage coexist in equal measure, where 5 men share a space barely large enough to turn without touching one another. Yet every movement is precise, every command understood, because their lives depend on it. The driver, the gunner, the loader, the co-driver, and the commander all working as one to survive and to strike back against a superior enemy. Sound of engines rumbling, camera moves through the interior, showing soldiers gripping controls, wiping sweat from their brows, shouting orders as shells hit the ground outside. The Sherman jolts forward. The smell of oil, smoke, and powder fills the air. The men exchange quick nods and gestures. Every shot fired a coordinated dance of life and death. The tank is not just metal. It is a sanctuary and a weapon. A single pulse of American resolve in the midst of chaos. Through long nights and endless marches, the men inside form bonds that cannot be broken. They joke quietly to calm nerves. They share letters from home and photographs tucked into corners of the turret. They whisper stories of family and hope. As the Sherman carries them across mud and fire, each man trusts not only the machine, but his comrades, because inside that steel box, every second counts and every action matters. Camera pans to a soldier leaning out of the hatch, eyes scanning the horizon. A faint smile crosses his face as he sees fellow Shermans moving in formation around him. Teamwork, coordination, and trust are their shield. The men inside know that bravery is measured not in recklessness, but in focus, in precision, in the ability to adapt under fire. The Sherman amplifies that courage, allowing ordinary men to perform extraordinary feats. Sound of shells, echoing camera zooms out to show a column of Shermans advancing together across a shattered landscape. American flags waving atop some of the tanks. The men inside, steel and human spirit intertwined. The Sherman may have been called a death trap, but for the soldiers it was a guardian, a testament to American ingenuity and the unbreakable bond between men who refused to quit. Let me take you to the field. Battlefields where the Sherman proved its worth beyond reputation, from the sands of North Africa to the hedgerows of Normandy to the frozen forests of the Ardennes. These tanks carried American soldiers into the thickest fire with speed, determination, and relentless resolve each engagement, a test of strategy, courage, and the very soul of the men inside. Sound of artillery crashing. Camera sweeps across desert dunes, Shermans rolling in tight formation, dust rising behind them, gunners aiming at distant targets, explosions sending plumes of smoke into the sky, yet the tanks press forward, engine rumbling like the heartbeat of America, every maneuver a display of coordination, and every shell fired a testament to training and teamwork in the hedgerows of France. The Sherman adapted to every challenge, drivers learning to navigate narrow paths, commanders directing fire over the tin and brush. Each tank covering the other, every hit, avoided every flanking move, a triumph of ingenuity over brute force. The men inside knew that the Sherman's strength was not in its armor alone, but in its ability to keep moving, keeping soldiers alive, and keeping the fight going across Europe. American tank units learned to combine mobility with numbers, striking Panthers and Tigers from multiple directions, isolating them and exploiting weaknesses. The Sherman's reliability meant damaged tanks could return to the front line, quickly keeping pressure on the enemy. The battlefield became a chessboard, and the Sherman a tool of strategy and precision. Sound of gunfire, fading camera pans over a battlefield strewn with wrecked German tanks. Shermans advancing steadily toward the horizon, their crews exhausted yet proud. The death trap has become a hero, a symbol of American adaptability, courage, and technological foresight, proving that with strategy, skill, and determination, even a machine considered inferior can shape the course of history. Let me take you to the moments when American tankers faced overwhelming odds, where Shermans were outnumbered 2-1, 3-1, yet refused to yield. Where courage and strategy mattered more than raw armor and firepower. The German Panthers may have been stronger on paper, but American ingenuity, coordination, and relentless spirit turned every disadvantage into opportunity. Sound of shells, exploding camera pans across muddy fields and broken villages. Shermans moving in coordinated formations, crews shouting orders, each tank covering the other, drivers weaving through obstacles, gunners firing in unison, the men inside trusting their machine and one another. Every maneuver a carefully orchestrated dance of survival. An attack. The Sherman crew's strength lay in numbers, speed, and adaptability. Its engine may not have been the loudest, its armor not the thickest, yet it allowed for flanking maneuvers, rapid redeployment, and repair in the field. Damaged tanks returned to battle quickly, keeping pressure on the enemy and frustrating even the most formidable German crews. Every engagement a testament to American strategy and the human will to persevere across Europe. Tankers learned to exploit terrain and coordination, using smoke and cover to approach Panthers from blind spots, striking quickly before the enemy could react. These tactics turned the Sherman from an underdog into a weapon of lethal effectiveness. It was not the death trap its reputation suggested, but a tool that leveraged teamwork, courage, and ingenuity to dominate on the battlefield. Sound of distant artillery, fading camera zooms out to show a line of Sherman advancing across a shattered landscape, American flags fluttering atop turrets, men inside tents, yet focused, proud, yet determined. The lesson is clear: American technology, combined with courage and strategy, can overcome even the deadliest threats, proving that the Sherman was never the problem, but part of the solution in winning the war. Let me take you to the hearts of the men inside the Sherman, where every battle carried risk and every engagement tested courage, where fear was real. But so was bravery, where ordinary soldiers became heroes in moments of impossible choice. The death trap may have been called a weakness, but for the men inside it was a vessel of survival and a stage for extraordinary acts of valor. Sound of distant gunfire and explosions, camera pans inside the turret, showing soldiers working together, hands flying over controls, shouting orders, voices steady despite the chaos. Sweat and grime covering their faces, their eyes focused on the horizon, they adapt, quickly reload shells, maneuver their tank in the midst of death and destruction, each action precise because every second counts. Letters home, tucked into helmets, photographs pinned inside the Sherman, each soldier carrying reminders of family and home, whispers of loved ones, giving them strength in the cold nights and fiery days. The men shared jokes, stories, and encouragement to maintain their humanity amid the carnage. They trusted their tank to protect them, yet knew that courage came from within a crotch. Battlefield's countless Shermans were damaged or destroyed, but the crew's bravery turned the tide in many engagements. Stories emerged of tankers holding off superior numbers of Panthers or rescuing comrades under fire. These acts of heroism prove that the Sherman was more than steel, it was a partner, a guardian, and a symbol of American ingenuity and grit. Sound of shells, fading camera pans over a battlefield at dawn, shattered tanks and broken terrain. Yet Sherman crews surviving and advancing, a small group, raising an American flag atop a turret, their faces exhausted yet proud, a silent testament to resilience, teamwork, and courage. The death trap was never just a machine, it was a vessel for heroism and the unbreakable spirit of American soldiers. Let me take you to the final pushes across Europe, the Allies advancing relentlessly, Shermans leading the way over shattered villages, fields, torn apart by artillery and skies still thick with smoke. These tanks that were once called death traps now carried soldiers toward victory, their engines rumbling a chorus of determination and hope. Every turret, a symbol of American ingenuity and teamwork. Sound of distant cheers and artillery fading. Camera pans over rows of Shermans moving steadily forward, crews leaning from hatches waving to civilians, the landscape littered with broken German tanks, yet Shermans pressing on through mud and fire, every soldier inside aware that their perseverance and trust in the machine have turned the tide of history. The Sherman's legacy extends beyond the battlefield. It proved that reliability, adaptability, and numbers often outweigh raw power, that courage, coordination, and strategy can overcome seemingly superior technology. It became a symbol of American resilience, a testament to the men who trusted it and the nation that built it. From factory floors to muddy fields of war, the Sherman carried not just soldiers, but the ideals of freedom and determination across Europe and North Africa. Veterans tell stories of Shermans surviving ambushes, carrying them through impossible odds, and the machine itself becomes a character in the story of liberation, each tank a moving monument to the ingenuity and bravery of America, proving that even an underestimated tool can achieve greatness in the hands of those who refuse to quit. Sound of peaceful wind sweeping over a quiet battlefield. Camera focuses on a Sherman resting under sunlight beside an American flag, the men who survived standing near. By reflecting quietly on the cost and the victory, the death trap is now remembered as a hero, a symbol of courage, resilience, and American dominance, a reminder that strength comes from heart, skill, determination as much as steel and fire. Let me take you beyond the battlefield to a world where the roar of engines has faded, the smoke has cleared, and the men who rode the Shermans carry memories that will never leave them. The death trap is no longer a nickname, but a symbol of what courage, intelligence, and teamwork can achieve even against overwhelming odds. It reminds us that true strength is not always measured in armor or firepower, but in the human spirit that drives it. Sound of gentle wind. Camera pans over modern veterans standing beside restored Shermans, sunlight glinting off steel, their faces lined with years, yet eyes still reflecting pride and remembrance. They speak softly of comrades lost, of battles fought, and of the unwavering faith they had in the machine that carried them through hell. The Sherman is a vessel of memory, a living link between past bravery and present reflection. In museums and collections across the world, the Sherman rests under lights, highlighting its form, every scratch, every dent a story, every mark a testament to resilience and ingenuity. It is more than a tank, it is a lesson in American problem solving, in strategic thinking, and in the courage of ordinary men facing extraordinary challenges. The death trap became a hero not because it was invincible, but because it was trusted and respected by those who understood its purpose. Camera zooms to children and young soldiers observing the Sherman, listening to stories of valor and teamwork. Legacy continues, reminding new generations that fear can be overcome by preparation, courage, and cooperation, that what seems inadequate can be transformed into something extraordinary with the right hands, and the right heart. Sound fades. Camera lingers on the Sherman, silhouetted against the sunset. American flag waving nearby, the narrator speaks softly. The story of the Sherman teaches us that resilience, creativity, and unity can triumph over the deadliest of threats, that even in the darkest hours, human courage and ingenuity shine brightest, and that the spirit of America carried forward in steel and soul will endure forever.